Lightweight mice have been all the rage recently, and Corsair's latest, the Sabre RGB Pro, seeks to set itself apart from the crowd with impressive performance as part of Corsair's champion series of peripherals. With up to 8,000 Hz polling rate thanks to the Axon hyperprocessing technology, the Sabre RGB Pro was recently tested with the lowest mouse latency in NVIDIA's Reflex Latency Analyzer. And with a comfortable ergonomic shape and priced at just $60, it's shaping up to be a great choice for competitive gamers. So let's dive in and check out the Sabre RGB Pro. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Toys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Hey everyone, I'm Jordan with 9 to 5 Toys. So with a pretty standard right-handed ergonomic shape, the Sabre RGB Pro from Corsair features dimensions that are pretty similar to a lot of other popular ergonomic mice. Measuring at 129mm long by 70mm wide and 43mm tall, my hand felt at home on the Sabre RGB Pro. It has that ergonomic hump here in the middle to rest your hand on and then slopes back nicely in the back as well. So this is going to be great for claw and palm style grips when you're gaming. But with that full size, the Sabre RGB Pro does shed some weight and comes in at an impressive 74 grams. Of course, this isn't the lightest gaming mouse on the market today, but it does come in at the lower end of the scale, and it made for making quick movements when playing FPS games like Warzone quite easy. Alright, moving on to some of the design and layout. It is marketed as an FPS and MOBA mouse, and so there are 6 programmable buttons on the Sabre RGB Pro. We have mouse 1 and mouse 2, a clickable scroll wheel, a DPI switching button just underneath that scroll wheel, and forward and back thumb buttons on the left side of the mouse. On the bottom, the Sabre RGB Pro has 4 100% PTFE glide feet that help for smooth movement, as well as the PixArt PMW3392 sensor. One other interesting thing on here is the way that Corsair shows and signifies the current DPI setting. So there are these 3 little LED lights that are just in front of the side button here, the forward side button, and those will signify what DPI setting you are on. So by clicking the DPI button, it'll cycle through those, and then you can get back to whatever setting you had it at. One interesting thing here is that there are 5 different settings for DPI, but there are only 3 lights on the side, so it does do a couple of weird combinations when you are getting to like DPI setting 2 and DPI setting 4, but it doesn't take that much to get used to, and it is kind of a cool way to show that off. I think it adds a nice little accent to the side of the mouse. The Sabre RGB Pro also handles on-the-fly DPI tuning, so by holding the DPI switch button and pushing either forward and back here on the side, you can actually tune that DPI setting that you have it at. So when we hold those and press those, it'll flash green, which means that it's going up 50 DPI points, and then if you push back, it'll flash red, and that means it's going back 50 DPI points. So if you want to do some quick on-the-fly adjustments there, that's really easy to do. I think that can also be removed if you don't want to have that option of doing quick movements on the fly too. So it's really configurable to whatever setting you want. Powering the high performance of the Sabre RGB Pro is Corsair's Axon hyperprocessing technology. Controlling everything from the crazy high 8,000 Hz polling rate to onboard lighting, Axon works to make the Sabre RGB Pro feel and perform impressively quick. And combine that with the quick strike buttons on top of here too, which are spring-loaded, and the Sabre RGB Pro is definitely built for speed. So much so that the Corsair Sabre RGB Pro is listed as the lowest latency when using NVIDIA's Reflex Latency Analyzer, and that's some numbers that are published online. I'll link that down in the description if you want to check it out and see what it's up against. But both the RGB Pro and the just Sabre Pro are on top of the list, which is pretty impressive, and that's going to make this a great choice for really competitive gamers. Moving on to switches and buttons, like many of the other Corsair mice, they are using Omron switches. And those switches under mouse 1 and mouse 2 are rated to 50 million clicks. And on top of those switches are Corsair's quick strike buttons. The spring-loaded design of these buttons renders no gap between the primary mouse buttons and the Omron switches underneath. That makes pressing a button instant for faster clicks, shots, and spellcasting, and add to the overall speed of the mouse. One bummer about these buttons though is that they have a little bit of a loose feel and sound to them, so when I actually shake the mouse, you can hear something rattling around. And that is those buttons, so you can actually play with that, and it's kind of loose as it kind of flicks up and down there. So it's unfortunate that makes the mouse feel a little bit cheaper just from that rattling around, but when you are actually using the mouse and gaming and pushing those buttons, I'd say that the mouse clicks feel really sharp and really snappy. And here we'll do a quick sound test. The Sabre RGB Pro features a PixArt PMW3392 sensor. Within iCUE, there is a simple calibration tool to help get it set up for the surface that you are playing on. So with all these technologies, the Sabre RGB Pro feels and performs really well in use. I had been using the glorious Model O wireless as my main recently, so going back to an ergonomic style mouse took a little bit of getting used to, but overall I've really enjoyed playing FPS games like Call of Duty Warzone on the Sabre RGB Pro. The side thumb buttons are a little large and do feel a little clunky with a different sound between the two, but they give a nice clicky response when they are pressed. And when gaming, the mouse feels really fast to me, but I don't know exactly how much of that is just, the placebo effect of knowing that this has the lowest latency. I think that competitive gamers are probably going to be able to tell that this is a really fast mouse and really enjoy that. But for someone who's a little more casual, that's something that's a little bit harder for me to actually pick out. But like I said, it does feel really fast and was just a joy to play with. Of course, it is a wired mouse, but the drag-reducing paracord cable is light and flexible. And this reminds me of the Ascended cables from Glorious and the SpeedFlex cable from Razer. I very rarely noticed that I was using a wired mouse, even after moving from the Model O wireless to the Sabre RGB Pro. And of course, with RGB in its name, the Sabre RGB Pro does have RGB built into it. As you can see, there are two zones here. We have one on the scroll wheel and one on the logo back here under the palm. And within Corsair's iCUE software, all of these lightings can be configured, and there are a lot of different settings you can tweak in there. There are two different menus, one for what plays from the onboard memory when the mouse is plugged in and running just in hardware mode, and then the other general lighting effect panel, which enables layers of lighting effects to be stacked on top of each other. While not as robust as some other RGB configurators like Razer Synapse, Corsair's iCUE offers plenty of customization for getting the colors and patterns you want on your hardware. There are a lot of other device settings you can tweak within iCUE as well, everything from adjusting the polling rate to button response optimization, angle snapping, and enhanced pointer precision. But I've kind of just left it in the default configuration and it's been working very well for me. So overall, the Corsair Sabre RGB Pro is a great option for those looking for the highest performance. And one other thing to keep in mind here is that the Sabre RGB Pro is priced at $60, and then the Sabre Pro is priced at $55. So these are really competitively priced for what you're getting as far as performance. Getting the lowest latency mouse as tested within the NVIDIA Reflex Latency Analyzer is pretty affordable. Of course, it is wired, but thanks to this really flexible braided cable, that really hasn't been much of an issue to me. I do wish that the build quality felt a little bit bigger, that these, buttons weren't as floppy as they are, but overall I can't really complain because I think that the Corsair Sabre RGB Pro performs really well for the price point. And that'll do it for our review of the Corsair Sabre RGB Pro. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. This is Jordan with 9to5 Toys.